Hi, this is Peter,
Hi, this is Sandra,
and we are medievalist.net,
and today we're doing an episode of.
the Borgias.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We always do Game of Thrones first, but that's okay.
No.
No, it's good. So this week it was really, you know, I haven't found a single episode that I dislike yet.
Okay.
And this week is no different.
No.
I mean, I've been loving season 3 of the Borgias, and I really like the only issue I have, and I think we're gonna go and discuss this at a bit of length, is with all the plots between Rodrigo and the Jews and Cesare building his bastard Brotherhood army or whatever. The whole plague rag thing in the beginning, where Katerina Sforza sends this letters, fake letters, saying, "Oh, let's be friends," or "Let's be peaceful,
letter of
peace
peace.
and love," and all that jazz. And then, they put in these rags that were covered in plague juice or whatever, and seal it with wax and send it to the Vatican. I'm no doctor, but I'm not buying that the plague. And if anybody's a medical practitioner who watches our reviews, if you can just back me up, I don't think that would last that long. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think that
I mean, it's good Hollywood, but
I don't think people in the 15th century, actually I know for a fact, people in the 15th century really didn't have that kind of idea of how, plague was transmitted, would be, through a person's clothes or, rags.
I mean, you were running around with a beak masks on, right? So it just tells you that there's not a hell of a lot of smart stuff going on.
Well, they thought it was like, kind of a poisonous air, right?
Right.
So, like the idea.
So would they have thought that the poisonous air went into the rags?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible. That would make sense. Sorry, my shoulders itchy. That would make sense for them to sit there and say, "Hey, there's plague juice smoke or whatever on this rag. Let's chuck it in a box and wax seal it and send it with love to Rodrigo."
I think you just chuck the if they did actually throw a human being into here's a corpse of a person, that might actually be somewhat plausible as something a 15th century person, because I remember the old Mongols throwing the corpses of plague victims into Kaffa. That was the old story, and that's how the Black Plague arrived in Europe. But
so you don't think this death by fabric is possible?
It wasn't even something that people have thought of back then. So
death by fabric, according to medievalist.net, is busted. Next, so what do we think about the whole negotiation about the spear that pierced Christ's side? And I thought it was interesting, how Rodrigo's negotiating with the Jews, and they're like, "Man, we really don't want to fight these Turks. This really sucks. We want to just come here and live here. What do we have that these Christians don't have? We've got a spear." But then one of the cardinals tries to sort of do his own myth-busting thing, and it's a bit of an epic fail. What did you think about that?
Well,
that was a funny scene.
It was a funny scene. I think it worked well, but again, the history guy in me, what's going on? The idea.
Yeah, he doesn't stop. He just is on Google right away, oh my god! I'm you gotta come down and keep watching.
I wanted to see if there was actually any reference to this in the Pope Alexander's reign, and no, sadly they.
Womp womp.
There are several of these holy lances that are out there.
Like the cardinal said, there's one in Alexandria, there's one here, there's one there.
It's in the same cases. Piece of the true cross, so even a piece of the true cross to build a house. So,
but then again, the rabbi totally upstaged him. And broke his spear in half, which I thought was a really interesting move, because when I was watching that scene, I was like, "Oh snap! The cardinal's got you. He's got your number." And then the rabbi was like, nah, I'm gonna break this in half and call your bluff. And I was like,
Well,
what?
it's a
I thought it was a pretty interesting move.
it's a weird kind of um, story, like the kind of bringing like a Jewish characters into like the stories. Like this is a pretty anti-Semitic period in European history.
Just a bit, folks.
Just a tad.
Just a wee bit.
You know, so
like that much.
you know, all if most, nearly all, if not all, kind of Christians, especially people in the Vatican, would have a pretty low opinion of Jewish persons. And like, but how are they going to do that in the Borgias and portray it? They can't portray it them as what Rodrigo would have seen them, right? Like, but so they have this kind of story here. It's really just kind of out of the. They just seem to have conjured it up out of almost nothing.
So you're saying they conjured up the story, it never happened, and they're doing it just because Hollywood has to be careful about how they portray it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the whole kind of gist of it. Like what, why they did it. Again, it's kind of an interesting kind of tale, and I like how they did it.
Yeah, but I would argue that a lot of shows and movies will portray like anti-Semitic characters, like neo-Nazis or what have you, right? I mean, they're there, so I mean, why would they hold back in the case of... In this case, on top of it, it's completely historically accurate, right? I don't understand why they would hold back on the show, but, they'd have, like, say, a skinhead movie or something.
Well, like, I can't see it, like, in this day and age that you're going to be... particularly racist against any particular group.
No. I'm just saying, but movies and television shows, TV movies and stuff have portrayed anti-Semitism in them.
Yeah,
so
but,
why wouldn't they portray it in the Borgias?
Well, like, they could portray villains doing it, but they can't portray the Borgias, the heroes of the story.
Okay,
to be
heroes? These guys are a murdering lecherous. The murdering lecherous papal family are suddenly the heroes.
But
they're not. They're kind of villains.
I know,
Peter.
I know.
They're villains.
They're kind of villains, but like it.
Last I checked, sleeping with your sister, having orgies with chestnuts, and all this other stuff that they're doing, and having your henchmen throw the king and murder him in the river with eels. I think the whole family dynamic there is kind of just evil.
But we're rooting for them, right? Like we're not like, oh, I hope Cesare gets it today. Like that's.
I
not
like Cesare, but I'm going to tell you, I think
not,
I'm a little bit team sports. I think I have a girl crush on Katarina Sports.
Oh no! Oh no!
I'm gonna get my shirt. Go cat, go!
Go cat! They I just don't like to me, like they're the kind of you couldn't have those characters kind of be anti-Semitic. It just wouldn't jive.
You can't have your evil villainous heroes as anti-Semites. This is a good point.
Like
things you learn with Peter. But it's an interesting thing. I just thought the whole scene was really interesting. That the rabbi actually managed to save his ass and turn the tables on the cardinal. And then, like, lastly, which I think is...
And they're going to keep going with it, actually, which is, like, there's still going to be more to come.
It looks like there's more of a storyline there. And, of course, small things get tied up. Like, Lucrezia and Cesare meet and repledge their love to each other. Micheletto's babysitter extraordinaire reunites Giovanni with Lucrezia.
Michelotto has almost nothing to do in this, actually.
Except kind of scowl and hand babies back to people. He's scowling, murdering, or babysitting. These are his three things, that he does. And then, anyway. And then the last thing was, which I thought was really cool, is how I love how Cesare shows up on his father's door. He's like, "Look, Dad, look what I can do!" With this like massive French army. It's kind of, I had the feeling when Cesare did it, and sorry for this analogy, but it's kind of like when a little kid brings like a catchers like a bunch of hornets in a cup and brings it home into the house, or like a badger or something.
Yeah.
Like, look, Dad, look what I can do. And then is really confused why the parent's super pissed. Like, what did you bring home? Why is it here? Get rid of it right now. That's exactly what Cesare's reaction.
I just feel sorry for your parents. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
It
wasn't me. That's all I'm saying. No, but wasn't that reaction hysterical?
Yeah, like...
Look, I have an army, Dad!
I like, where he's like, we're gonna, to the bastard sons of Italy, they're like, oh, we're gonna, show our dads,
We're gonna be a gang.
Yeah, we're like...
the bastard sons of Italy.
And it's like that, he has a little bit of,
the one guy who's like, speak for yourself. I'm no bastard, you guys are all bastards.
It was
really good line.
It was a good, like it'll...
And then they did their bastard Braveheart roar. Yeah!
Now,
go Team Bastards.
Now, if you were expecting a big battle, alas, that does not happen.
No, they just get all dressed up in their gear. One guy who looks like Assassin's Creed with the...
Because this is the Borgias, that means there's no real fighting except for like one show at the end.
Cesare looks magnificent in his... what I call honeybee armor, because it's like yellow and black looking. Then you got the Assassin's Creed guy. I forget if he's an Orsini, a Batelli, a something, or Nutella, or whatever his last name.
Nutellas?
Who knows? The Nutellas. But anyhow, he has. It's like a evil Italian Robin Hood, like with his band of bastardly merry men, and now they've banded together. And, and all jokes aside, I have to give Cesare credit in the scene where they're sitting there trying to figure out, okay, so are we Team Sforza or Team Borgia? What's going to be the best thing? And then suddenly, ha ha, ho ho, out of the bushes with 100,000 men or whatever, Cesare shows up with his like French men, and he's like, you guys are all bastards. I'm a bastard. We're losers. We're not going to get anywhere if we stick to doing what we're doing. But if you join me, you'll find glory. And in 2 seconds, they're like, I'm Team Borgia. I thought that was brilliant.
Well, there's a great little scene where Cesare is just marching through his troops. And he's at the top of the world. Ah, Mr. Big. I'm showing my dad. And everything, and all the soldiers, although they really shouldn't care at all. He's an Italian. He's a Spanish Italian, and they're French troops, and they don't really care for me. But hey, it's only going to go down from here for Cesare.
What did you think of this whole thing? What happened when they got to Milan? I honestly thought people were going to start spilling out of that horse like a Trojan horse.
Oh yeah.
I was like, the city's empty. They all walk in, and there's a guy standing there beside a big horse. And I was like, uh-oh.
I have to say, the Milanese are pretty good at leaving the city. Like, get out of here. Everyone abandon the city. And we'll see. Because it's the end, and it's kind of a little more of questions to be answered for next week. So.
Yeah, I thought, again, it was a really good episode. Cesare is the man. I love Carabina Sforza, but I really wish the two of them got together. I wish history had put those two together, because they're so devilish. They would have ruled the world. Alas. But anyway, I really enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed Cesare's plotting. I enjoyed the pseudo-plague rag thing. And, Rodrigo's negotiations with the Jews. I thought it was, all in all, not too much bloodshed, not too much craziness, but it wasn't boring.
Yeah, I think it was some fun plots here, some interesting stories, and it keeps the ball rolling for them.
It definitely does. So, we'll look forward to bringing you another fantastic episode next week of
The Borgias.
Thank you.